Okay, so it seems like there's another kind of situation going on in the Wuthering Waves community at the moment, which is all to do with the CN community. Now, obviously, they've been quite a lot in the kind of news, I guess, for Wuthering Waves, obviously including a lot of the other stuff that's been going on, especially to do with the Cantarella censorship and the Fleurdelys censorship, which obviously I talked about in my previous video. Wuthering Waves have actually issued a kind of response to that in their patch notes kind of thing over on the game, saying that they plan to, move forwards and fix some stuff in the future. And well, this pretty much led a lot of people to believe that a lot of these changes that they made was to do with the Chinese government, and that they didn't really have much of a choice. It was just one of those things where it was like, okay, we have to change this as soon as possible, and then it ended up happening, and then they'll go on to kind of polish it off a little bit better later on. Now, there's been this other situation though to do with other characters. Now, obviously, people have been getting mad at the fact that all of these female characters are getting censored and things like that. Well, it seems like the kind of, I guess, community over in China, or at least the male community in China, like the extreme male community in China, have been kind of angry at some of the designs to do with Brant. Now, obviously, Brant released ages ago, and it seems like the hatred for him is still very much there in the community, and it's just really weird. And I really wanted to talk about it and kind of bring a little bit of light, because again, it's one of these things where, I understand that some people might not want more male characters in the game or whatever, but the fact is, it's still going to happen. I feel like, it is a good thing for the game to have a bit of diversity in the cast, and well, it seems like they're going even further by, being pretty extreme with some of their actions to kind of get their point across that they don't want these characters and that they hate Brant as a character. So let's just first get into the first post that's here. Obviously, this came up in the they say, as much as I hate add more men players, I gotta say this is a little much. Just mod Brant if you want him to be, a woman. Someone could mod him into a her. They do that in Hoyo games, which I guess is true, but at the same time, if you really need to do that, I just don't think you should be playing the game in the first place. But pretty much it's all from this one post here saying, CN incels still want Kuro to turn Brant into a femme role. A Snowbreak turned male role into femme role, even use AI to turn him into a femme role. So pretty much this is from a kind of thread over on Tiba, which again I actually translated as well over using AI and stuff. So it seems like these translations that they put up on the screen are accurate. They did match up with the ones that I got. Now obviously, yeah, they say if Brant is not a woman, will he sell well? If he is a femme role, I will pull him. He is femme, damage is reduced by half. Kuro femme staff always prefer male roles and hate femme roles, which makes male gamers feel disgusted at hate femme staff. So again, they're pretty much saying that, I don't really get that little last bit there. I'm not sure if they're talking about if it's this bit here, but essentially they're saying that it's mainly the female staff that want these male characters to be added to the game and that they think it's disgusting, which honestly, I just think that's really stupid. It's just like, okay, I think there does need to be a little bit of diversity in the cast of Wuthering Waves, else it does just feel like one of these games where I think the plot kind of gets a little bit ruined, I guess. For example, you got games like Nikkei and things like that where it's like completely female orientated and it's no males apart from maybe, the MC itself. Now, again, I think that could kind of hinder it. Obviously, actually in Nikkei, to be fair, they do have a couple of NPCs which are male, but there are some other games as well where they go heavily into the female kind of aspect, especially with NPCs and stuff like that, which can ruin the game. I think having a good kind of diverse amount of people in the game itself will allow you to get a little bit more immersed in it, which again, I think is definitely a reason why we need more male characters in the game. Now, obviously, this other comment says, Kuro knows that femme roles make money, but Kuro is unwilling to make money. Kuro's obsessed with male roles, why not do a Otome game? So they're pretty much saying, oh, well, it makes so much money, so why don't you just make an Otome game instead? If you really want to make male games, why don't you just make an Otome game, seeing as you guys like male so much? Which, again, I think that's also a very stupid point. If Kuro Games wants to make an Otome game in the future, then they could go ahead, because again, I'm sure there'll be a lot of people that'll be very interested in that. Obviously, we've had the success of games like Love and Deep Space and things like that, which obviously, I'm guessing it would sell pretty well if they were to make one, but, just kind of going after them and saying that you might as well make an Otome game just because there's a male character in it. Like, let's be real, there isn't actually that many in Wuthering Waves in the first place, and it just seems kind of unhinged to be asking for even less of them in the game, because, there's a reason why there's been all of this drama and all of this talk about, oh, hey, we need more male characters in the game. It's because there's not enough in the first place, and these people are advocating for even less, and if not, reverting some of the changes. Now, obviously, you go to the next post here, where they've actually gotten a kind of AI-generated thing saying, Fusion Team is stronger because of Brant. If Kuro femme staff prefer him and makes him meta, it would be better if he was a femme role. They say, interesting, I also want to use AI. So again, they pretty much use AI to change the kind of face and stuff of Brant and change the overall kind of style of Brant to a female, which, I mean, if you want to do that in your own time, then go ahead, but I do think it's just a bit stupid that some people are trying so heavily just to change this character from a character that Kuro Games themselves created. It's almost a little bit insulting to the staff who actually made the original character to be changing this up, especially using AI. And I think that, you know, it's just a really stupid argument, you know. I do understand that, you know, female roles do sell better. It does tend to have a better kind of reception, I think, with the kind of audience, but at the same time, it's just like really not that big of a deal. I think adding male characters in there, in the mix, is definitely going to add a little bit more diversity. As I said, it can make it interesting, but also for the people that maybe don't really like the male character roles as much, or don't really pull for them as much, which, to be honest, I don't really pull for them as much, apart from maybe, you know, getting them on the standard banner. I think that, you know, it just provides you a little bit of time just to skip, you know. You can have a little bit of time to actually, you know, save up your asteroid and things like that, which honestly is good for me as someone who plays, you know, I don't play free to play, but, you know, I try to play as free to play as possible. So, you know, I'd rather not, you know, spend money to get a character. So again, I honestly think it is better to kind of have these little breaks where, you know, there is a character that you don't like, because let's be real, every single character in the game, you're not going to like every single one, you know. And I think that's just a fact. No matter of what gender it is, it could be a female or a man or whatever, it doesn't really matter, you know. There's always going to be a character that you don't like, that you don't want to pull for, you don't find interesting, and well, it seems like, you know, they have their reasons for it, but it's just like, it kind of stupid to ask for the game to get rid of it altogether. It's just one of those where you just skip it, you know, maybe this update wasn't for you or whatever, and then you just move on and pull for the next character which you do like. Now, obviously there's even more posts as well saying CN incels will also report wuwa, because many CN gacha games will kneel down to incels after their revenue drops, which I don't think is going to be the case with Kuro Games. I think that Kuro Games will definitely not kneel down to this kind of stuff. They're very strong-minded in terms of, you know, getting their kind of opinions across, I guess, and kind of getting, you know, what they want into the game rather than just listening to everyone else. You know, they do listen to a lot of players, which, you know, is definitely the case. We've seen it with, you know, some of the changes recently with Fleurdelys and stuff. They were saying, you know, hey, we didn't really want to make this change, but we had time constraints, we had to make this change. And well, I don't think they will kind of do that. They say Kuro Stans believes it was reported by New wuwa League and succeeded. Why not think it was reported by gay, and I'm not going to say that, players took a screenshot of the person who reported by New wuwa League. I don't really get what's going on here, but essentially I think they're trying to say that gay male enjoying cat people were the ones reporting it, which, you know, could be a factor. I do think there is a small group out there who didn't like the Cantarella design that decided to report the game, but I don't think it's a big kind of community of, you know, husbando enjoyers or anything like that that are doing this. Obviously they say I've reported it, report reason is, you know, vulgarity, which, you know, it's just so dumb. Obviously they're here just editing stuff as well, saying Captain Brant is so terrible, makes me sick, I'm running away, thanks to the idiot for buying the account I sold. Meme means Hoyoverse Kuro prefers Nuvalet/Brant to disgusted them to uninstall wuwa/Genshin. So yeah, they're pretty much saying that they uninstalled both of these games due to both of these characters, which is kind of dumb. And yeah, they also said they sold their account, so people were actually selling their account due to the fact that they pulled Brant. Now, I don't know how they managed to actually pull for Brant. Like, if you had this much hatred for Brant, you just wouldn't, you know, you wouldn't get it, you know, you wouldn't pull it. But I mean, I don't know, maybe they were selling the account without Brant on it. I'm not sure. They didn't really mention if they actually had it on there, but again, it's not like, you know, they're forcing Brant onto your account and you have to play him. You could just kind of skip that banner and just keep playing the game. But obviously they're trying to make like a bigger stance against the game, I guess, in terms of like, oh, I'm just not going to play the game in general if they're going to release characters like this, which I think is kind of stupid. I just don't really get it. I feel like people are taking this way out of proportion, and honestly, you know, this situation has gone pretty bad, you know. So obviously, you know, I do want more male characters added to the game, and I also understand that people don't want more male characters added to the game. I think both is fine, but I think going this extreme, kind of just like deleting the game and stuff, you know, all you have to do is just not pull on a banner. I honestly think it is that simple, and I think it is, you know, if it was like female, fully male, and someone wanted to leave because there just wasn't any diversity at all, I think that's fine. But so far there is, and hopefully they will add some more male characters in the future to kind of improve that ratio that's going on. Although I think, you know, Kuro Games might not do that. But I think overall the current ratio is fine. And I think a lot of people are kind of just like kind of freaking out about this because, again, it's just really, really stupid. But yeah, let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this. Do you think that, you know, these people are right in kind of being angry at this? I don't think it's right at all. I feel like, you know, the current cast of Wuthering Waves is fine, and adding male characters is a really positive thing for the game. And obviously, you know, Brant got more sales than some of the other female characters, for example, like Phoebe and other ones like that, which, yeah, he literally, for a fact, got more sales, which means, you know, male characters do sell pretty well in Wuthering Waves at the moment. But hey, I'll keep an eye on this. I'll definitely keep you guys updated if anything else is to actually happen over here. But yeah, it seems like the Chinese community is getting a lot more involved in Wuthering Waves at the moment, especially over here in the West. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And also go to GameStop, use my code Kazza, get 10% off. Again, they got a ton of really cool stuff over there, so I definitely recommend checking it out. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. So